Ken Meleen has an extraordinary story. We've told it a couple of times, but in times like today, when we see these appalling stats around retirement and how that's broken, we have to show people that there is more than one way to do it. Tell us where you were at 65 when you were looking at retirement and what your prospects look like, and talk us through that process. I think there's a lot of learning that's going to happen today.
Well, it was July 31st, 2000, my birthday. I turned 65. I decided I was going to get out of the business. I had a few jobs left to clean up, which took another few years. But I closed my office and I moved everything up to my home here. I brought everything home to the office and I finished up my jobs that I had going on and started drawing retirement money out of a 401k, actually a SEP IRA that I had. At one time, I had $500,000 in that SEP IRA, but different things happened along the way. You recall a few historic events that took place in the following few years. September 1st, 2001, you all watched the buildings in New York come tumbling down. And the aftermath of that was a crash in the stock market, and a lot of things went haywire. We finally got back on track, only to find out around 2007, 2008, which I believe, Greg, is when you and your partner started investing.
Mm-hmm.
The market kind of went south, and with that, my SEP IRA started going south too. I lost about, I'd say, around 30%, maybe 40% of my investment at that time. So I had to kind of whittle down the amount that I was taking out of it, which I did. And I continued on year after year after year, come up to year 2018. In 2018, I pulled my last penny out of my IRA, was high and dry. What do I do next? Good thing I had a friend who was a mortgage loan broker, and he said there's a new product on the market that is called a jumbo reverse mortgage, and you can get a lot more out of that than you were able to get out of a reverse mortgage under the FHA guidelines, which I had done a few years before. So I said, let's go ahead and see what we can do. He had all the paperwork lined up, and by the end of 2000, roughly, we had secured this plan, and we're sitting pretty with a little over $800,000 of cash ready to spend. What do I do with this? I asked my friend. He says, well, if you don't know, just divide it in two, put it in a couple of T-bills and let it ride, and then start searching around for some answers. So I did. I got one T-bill for $400,000 that would mature 6 months later. Another one for $400,000 that would mature 12 months later. So that would be August of 2019 and February of 2020. So then I started searching around, and I have a lot of friends. One of my friends was actually my piano teacher. Why am I taking piano at 80? Because I don't want to stop living. I want to do new things. Anyway, Harold Litfin, one of the investors in JWB, gave me some advice. He said, check them out. And so I did. I got on a call with JWB and found out what they're all about. And I have Mike Stewart. Yeah, I got on a 30-minute phone call to Mike Stewart, which lasted an hour because I had a lot of questions. I had no idea what Jacksonville was like. We ended up, he was going to send me a packet of homes that were available. And by the time we wound our discussion up, we were all set to go ahead with purchase in August of 2019, which was when our first T-bill was going to roll over. We bought two houses. Fortunately, when you buy for cash, the process goes very smoothly, very fast. I think we settled and had the homes in hand by September 23rd or something like that. At any rate, so we moved on. I'm not sure when you guys started the Not Your Average Investor show. Somehow I was getting information that JWB wanted to encourage people to come and visit them at their office in Jacksonville. And to encourage that, they would provide $1,000 of funding for transportation and lodging. So Carol and I decided, we've never been to Jacksonville, let's go. So we did. Again, we had a session with Mike Stewart and sat down and saw a beautiful little home that we thought we could manage. The one thing we didn't know since I was already in my 80s. I didn't know whether I didn't have a paycheck stub. I didn't know whether I could get a loan on a home. So we worked through it, and sure enough, got a loan broker that provided that for us, and we bought a third home, and that closed in January of 2020. So here we are. We got the threesome that Greg always talks about. Got to get at least three, and two of them were fully paid for, and one was mortgaged. So here we come up. What's happening after January 2020? February 2020. My other T-bill was going to roll over. Well, I thought, why not go ahead and do the same thing as we did before? We found two more houses, and we settled on these two and signed the purchase contract. We were done with those by the end of February, had them in hand, and we passed a magic marker with those 5 homes. When you own 5 homes, you get a break on your management fee from 10% of the rent down to 9%. And you might say that, well, that's not a big deal, but yeah, it is. It is important. And if we can ever get up to 10 homes, we'll be down to 8%. So what else happened after February? March of 2020, all of you were probably glued to your TV sets because it was announced that COVID had hit with a vengeance. And COVID was probably an even more disastrous thing than the Twin Towers or the downturn in the economy in the 2007, 2008 era. People were dying, especially older people were dying like flies. And I looked at our portfolio and I said, okay, what have we got? We've got 4 homes that we own totally. We have 1 home that we have a mortgage on. What might we have to do to save our portfolio here? And I think I sent some notes to Greg. I said, we could take a little cut in rent to help our renters, our occupants. But it turned out Greg went through the scenario there at one of our Not Your Average Investor shows. And he said, the situation in Jacksonville is good. Our ratio of homes sold to homes listed is very close to 1 still. I don't think we're going to have any problems. Just hold tight and let's move on. We did. It's summertime. We thought we still have a little bit of money from this second T-bill. And so let's buy another house. So we did with a mortgage, and that was number 6. Got that all settled in, I think about August or September of 2019. And then we decided, okay, well, let's coast a little bit. I think in the meantime, somewhere in there, we made another trip back to a big get together at JWB in Jacksonville and had a great time with a bunch of friends there.